Again, I'm giving y'all tips that you can incorporate because I know that holistic wellness is seen as out of reach. It's all this expensive stuff that you don't have access to or you can't do at this time. It doesn't have to be. There are a lot of different things that you can start incorporating today to make you feel like you're living a luxurious and holistic life. And when I say luxurious, I don't just mean rich. I literally mean luxury of your time, of your health, of your well-being. Those, to me, are the luxuries of today. Hi everyone, welcome back for another episode of the WellwithTiff podcast. My goal with these is to share a little bit more about my holistic journey in the hopes that I inspire you all to pursue your own journey as well. In this modern society that we're all living in, our bodies are constantly under attack, from the foods that we're eating to the products that we use to the relatively small amount of movement that we get in on a daily basis compared to years and years and years ago. Through mindset shifts and practical habit changes, as well as just simply focusing on the foods that we're eating and what we're fueling our body with, I believe that we can live authentic and holistic lifestyles. It's not hard. It should be achievable no matter where you are in your lifestyle, no matter what your responsibilities are, no matter what your financial situation is. All of us can take small steps towards getting better. And so if this sounds interesting to you guys, if you feel motivated and inspired to get better together, then please subscribe, please stick around for more because, child, there is a lot that we can cover and a lot that we can do to get better. So let's get into it. So in today's episode, you'll see that my background's a little different. I am sitting comfortable because today we are focusing on stress. More importantly, how stress impacts your gut health and your overall body. Did you know that stress doesn't just impact your mood? You're not just going to feel upset and overwhelmed and anxious, but it's also going to impact your gut microbiome and potentially even cause digestive chaos. In one of my previous episodes, I talked about how I was going through a long period of chronic stress induced by my last job, and that did a significant number on my body. It caused a lot of internal turmoil. It caused my IBS to start exhibiting symptoms. It caused just general digestive discomfort, all because of the chronic stress that I was under. So I don't know what that tells you, but what it tells me is that your body feels every ounce of stress that you're under, no matter where it's coming from. It could be coming from your job, it could be coming from life, your responsibilities. It could even be just internal. Maybe something's just not functioning right as it should. And we need to be able to understand where stress is coming from in order to squash it, to kill that thing, and to make sure that you don't feel that again, and more importantly, that it doesn't negatively impact your body. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Today, I want to share the different types of stress that we are all experiencing in this thing we called life, as well as practical tips that I actually incorporated myself throughout my healing journey, as well as to this day, because now I swear by them and I can never picture life without doing these things to make sure that I am managing stress and that it doesn't ever manifest into physical symptoms like it did for me a few years ago. So with that, let's get into today's episode. Okay, I am really glad I'm sitting in this beanbag because I have got a lot to chat about today and I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable to do so because I feel so passionately about taking care of stress, managing it, never letting it get to the point of where you are exhibiting physical symptoms, because that is what I went through and I would never wish that on anyone. It was tough. It was hard to break out of that mental cycle of you being stressed externally, and then internally it was causing turmoil, which then led to more stress and you being worried about what's going on internally. And having that feedback loop, it's really, really hard to break out of. And so I want to make sure you guys don't get to that place. And if you do, know that you can improve, you can get better. I am proof that that is possible. So to kick off, there are 3 types of stress that we will generally experience at any given point in time. The first one is short-term stress. So short-term stress is type of stress that you experience that it's a one-time thing. You don't really expect it to happen again. For example, it could be that you have a class presentation coming up, or maybe you have a huge deliverable for your job that it's the first time you're doing something like that. You really want to impress your boss, and so you're really feeling worried and anxious about that. Or it could just be something random that happened throughout your day that's just causing you some level of anxiety and discomfort. It's not gonna go on for a long amount of time. You don't expect it to happen again. Once you get over that hump of being nervous for the first presentation, then you get the hang of it and you move on, that type of thing. So we all experience that at any given point in our lives. When you were in school, you probably felt that for your first presentation. Maybe your first fight with someone that you care about, things like that you can get over and you can move on with your life. The next type of stress is recurring stress. That's the next step up, where this is something that is going to happen again. Maybe you just generally always get really nervous and really stressed about presentations, and you're going to have to give a presentation every 4 months. Maybe you're going to see a family member every few months that you know just causes you a lot of anxiety, and you're very worried about that. And whenever those times come, you feel your body tense up, you feel yourself starting to stress about it, start worrying about it, you're having dreams about it, etc. So those are concentrated points in time that happen every now and then that you feel stressed, you feel anxious, you feel something stirring up inside of you. And the third type of stress is chronic stress. That's what I was experiencing from my job. Chronic stress can manifest from external stressors like my job or something else causing you stress, or it can be happening internally in you. Maybe something is inflamed in you and it's causing chronic stress on your body. Chronic means that it is ongoing. So it's not recurring. It's something that is just, it's persistent. It's with you. It's following you. You can't shake it no matter what you do. That is what I was feeling for almost a full year. I was trying my hardest to ignore it. I thought that it was completely normal. I thought all adults were going through this. I thought this was just a rite of passage. It's not. Chronic stress will do a huge number on your body if you don't pay attention to it and if you don't nip it in the butt as soon as possible. So tips that I'm going to get into today, I hope that they can help you through any of these stressors, whether it's short-term, recurring, or chronic, and that you can find comfort and ease through doing these different tips. So my first tip for managing stress is breathing techniques. So breathing techniques are my favorite because they're free. They're not going to cost you a dime. Literally, you just need to sit still and focus on your breathing. There are a lot of studies out there and books about how breath work and focusing on breathing helps to bring you back to present. So it's really good if you are going through an anxious period and really worried about something. Just take a few minutes, focus on your breathing, and it'll help calm you down, bring you back to reality, bring you back to that present moment. And as you're going through that, you can remind yourself of certain affirmations that help you to understand that you are powerful, you are strong, you can do this, you can overcome this. And that's just going to help you to bring ease to your mind. It also just helps because it will relax your nervous system by, again, being present. Because when you start worrying about things and you're constantly focusing on harping on something, that's putting your body into a state of worry. What's going on? What's going to happen? There's fear. There's a threat. And it's going to give your body the signal that you are in fight or flight mode. You don't want to be in fight or flight mode. You especially don't want to be in fight or flight mode for long amounts of time. So you want to make sure to bring everything back to center. One of my favorite simple breathing techniques is the box method. And so what that is you breathe in for 5 seconds, you pause So you hold your breath for 5 seconds, then you breathe out for 5 seconds, then you pause again without breathing in for 5 seconds. So you see that 4 times. So you keep doing that. I usually do it for at least 4 to 5 cycles, and then I feel pretty good. I feel a lot calmer after doing it. I definitely recommend you guys try out the box breathing method in times when you are just feeling a sudden burst of anxiety or stress about something, and it'll help calm you down. My second tip for managing stress in our day-to-day busy lifestyles is having intentional mornings focused on you. Have your non-negotiables and don't stray from them, unless of course something's happening. Like, something always happens in life, but to the extent that you can, try to stick to a morning routine that's going to make you feel good. What I like to do is make sure that I am not reaching for my phone first thing in the morning, because I want to make sure my brain waves are waking back up naturally and not being forced to rapid fire frequencies by scrolling through my phone and seeing what's going on with the world. Don't reach for your phone first thing in the morning. If you can, try to limit the phone use as much as you can in the morning. But in the beginning, you can start with 5 minutes and then work your way up from there. I also like to get some sort of intentionality in, whether that's meditating or journaling, doing the breath work like I mentioned, things like that that are going to ground me and help me be present throughout the day. I really love to do that. I have my morning rituals video from a few weeks ago that I will link up here, wherever that is, and it's gonna walk you through what I tend to do and what I really enjoy that helps to create a nice slow morning for me before I kick off my day. I think this is so important because I don't know about y'all, but I really need to pour into myself before I go out and I start talking to people, or I go out and I start doing work or engaging with things. I need to fill my cup before I can help somebody else fill theirs. And so by doing an intentional morning, that's going to help me set the tone for my day to focus on being mindful, being slow, focus on what's important to me. Another thing that you can do is do simple stretches or follow a yoga routine on YouTube. Again, I'm giving y'all tips that you can incorporate because I know that holistic wellness is seen as out of reach. It's all this expensive stuff that you don't have access to or you can't do at this time. It doesn't have to be. There are a lot of different things that you can start incorporating today to make you feel like you're living a luxurious and holistic life. And when I say luxurious, I don't just mean rich. I literally mean luxury of your time, of your health, of your well-being. Those, to me, are the luxuries of today. Okay, my third tip for managing stress is incorporating better work habits. You're going to want to set boundaries and stick to them. In my last job, I did not have any boundaries whatsoever. Everybody could call me at 7 a.m., at 10 p.m. It didn't matter what time it was. I was available. I was ready to do work. That is a no-go this time around. I have boundaries. I stick to my working schedule, and y'all can't reach me outside of those hours. I will make sure that my notifications are snoozed, and I will pick up where I left off the next day. That's really important because once you create those boundaries, you can start living for yourself outside of work. Remember, we are working to live, not living to work around here. You want to make sure that you maximize the amount of time you have outside of work for doing things for you and the things that you love to do. Another thing is, if you work from home, another way you can create boundary is by making sure you have a dedicated workspace, whatever that is. It can be a corner in your room with a simple desk, or it can be a whole home office. Whatever it is, make sure you have a space that's work and it does not bleed into the rest of your life. So when you close your laptop for the day and you get up, you're not reminded of work unless you're sitting in that corner or you're sitting in your office. So that's another great thing to incorporate too. More on work habits. You want to be sure to use your PTO. Don't just let it fly by and then you get to December and you're like, oh no, I have 10 extra days of PTO. What am I going to do? That's something I used to do. I would just keep grinding the entire year because I felt like I needed to be present because I was on the bottom of the totem pole at my job and I wanted to be seen as this go-getter, this hard worker, whatever. But now I realize it is okay to take time off. And more importantly, it's a part of your package and your compensation, so you should be taking your time off. Don't just waste it. Don't just go through each year of work not using your PTO. Use it. Something else I learned too, and maybe this is just because my job that I have now does actually value its employees and wants their employees to be well, but they encourage us also to use sick days, whether that's using sick days for going to a doctor visit, or like maybe you stack your different wellness appointments. You can use a sick day for that. So you don't have to worry about logging online or worry about what's going on at work. Another thing is you can use sick days if you need to take care of a relative or your partner or your child, whatever the case may be. Take a sick day. If they're sick, that means that you can't focus on your job and you need to take care of them. And also mental health days. I think that we should definitely do more of those because sometimes life's a lot and you need to slow down. It's okay to take a day. You don't need to use all of your PTO days just for trips and just for vacations. Certainly if that's what you want to do, as long as it's what you want to do, that's okay. But if you can, allocate a certain portion of PTO days for travel and trips and other stuff where you have something planned, and then have a portion of PTO days where it's for you. You take care of yourself, you pour into yourself, you have a slow day, you're not doing like chores, you don't have like some responsibility to take care of, you're just taking care of you. I highly recommend that. My last tip on work habits is to stop multitasking and focus on random mental breaks. Instead of trying to listen to some work video or some meeting, and then while you're in that meeting, you're also like rushing to do some other task. Stop doing that. If you're in a meeting, be in the meeting. If you need to get a task done, get a task done without listening and trying to do other things. Mute your notifications so that you don't get disrupted and get pulled into like random conversations on Slack or whatever the case may be. Use focus times. Block out your time so you can get things done. Just be a little bit more thoughtful about your work habits so that you stop feeling buzzed and stressed and anxious throughout the day. And along with that, you can also take mental breaks, again, focusing on breath work, taking 5 minutes to meditate. It's not hard, and it can simply be incorporated after you finish a task. Your reward is taking a quick 5-minute meditation break. Simple things like that are going to help you find ease and just take you throughout the day with a little less inputs, a little less stress, a little less things that are going to distract you from just getting things done and moving on about your day. My fourth tip is meal prepping. Guys, let's make bringing lunch boxes to work cool, because I don't know about y'all, but I was a kid that always brought my lunches to school. They weren't always great lunches, but I didn't know that. My family didn't know that. But at least I was bringing my lunch. So it was not hard for me to incorporate that into adult life. I was often the person in my office in my last job that brought my lunch, and everybody always wanted to order in or eat out or go pick up food. And I did that sometimes, maybe say on Fridays, or like once in a while I would sprinkle them in throughout the week where I would go and get food. But for the most part, I tried to have things meal prepped so that I could bring them to work. And meal prepping also just makes things a lot easier throughout your week, because then you don't have to worry about cooking dinner when you get home or making breakfast. If you can figure out simple meals that work for you and that fuel your body with what it needs, it's going to make your life so much easier throughout the week, because it's just one less thing for you to worry about. I'm a big fan of meal prepping. You can meal prep a lot of things these days because, hello, we have freezers. You can freeze food if you need to. There are a lot of different ways that you can make it to simplify your life. And meal prepping doesn't need to be hard. You can just do a few simple things that will make it easier for you. Say, for example, you just meal prep the protein that you need for throughout the week because it's easy enough for you to make the sides. Do that. You can do baby steps to things that work up to bigger improvements throughout your life. And that'll definitely help with just getting throughout your week a little bit easier. All right, my fifth and final tip is one that I actually learned about somewhat recently, and it's not necessarily for lack of learning it, and more so I actually decided to try it out. So hot and cold therapy. We all hear about saunas and how amazing they are. So that's the hot side of hot therapy. And then cold therapy is exposing your body to really cold temperatures for short amounts of time. It's supposed to actually calm down your nervous system because it's gonna cause your body to focus on trying to keep you warm. I know, it's kind of counterintuitive, but my nutritionist was telling me about this, and then I actually was reading a book that mentioned it too, and I was like, maybe I should start trying it out. And so I've only been trying out cold therapy the last few showers because it's winter here, and y'all, I'm not trying to stay cold all the time if I don't have to be, but it is good for you to expose your body to cold temperatures, because in today's modern society, we're all so used to staying in ambient temperature. Our houses are kept at a certain temperature at all times. Our offices kept at a certain temperature at all times. Our car, we can warm it up, we can cool it down. Everywhere that we spend time, we can manage the temperature that we are sitting in. And historically, humans weren't always allowed to do that, right? Like, we were living outdoors, exposed to the hot, exposed to the cold nights, exposed to the winter. That helped our bodies to adapt and challenge our bodies and to keep our nervous system functioning at peak optimal conditions. So that's why it's important to introduce the extreme temperatures for short amounts of time to our bodies in today's society, because we're trying to recreate that. If we have temperature controlled settings for most of our existence, we need to give our bodies controlled experiences where it is challenged, and that helps our cells, that helps our nervous system to thrive. And so what I've been doing is I will finish my shower with cool to cold water, depending on how I'm feeling. And if I'm ready to just jump right into the cold, then I will. I don't have access to an ice bath, but if that's something that you have access to or you can create, you can try that. It feels very extreme for me. Maybe one day I'll work up to it, but now the cold showers do what they need to do. And then I do have access to a sauna. I also have learned that it is not hard to get your own sauna at home. We have a simple sauna that you can take down, you can put up. It's basically, it looks like a little like tent, and a material keeps the moisture in. Maybe it's more of like a steam bag than it is a sauna, but it's doing the trick that it needs to do. So if you want, you can also look that up if you don't have access to a sauna in your gym. There are simple ways to set it up at home for $100, $200, depending on what your capacity is. So check that out and try incorporating those different therapies, because they're just going to help you regulate your nervous system. All right, so those are all of my tips for managing the stress that we experience in our day-to-day lives. I know that it isn't easy, but I promise you guys that if you start doing little things to better manage your stress, it's going to benefit you in the long run. Again, I went through a long period of chronic stress. It did a number on my body, and I want to help you guys by sharing what I learned and what I went through, in the hopes that you guys can feel better, feel empowered, feel like you can take back control of your life, because you can, and you will. So with that, I will see y'all in the next episode. Bye for now.